How can we align our emotions and inner states with the way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wasallam? Now, so this is a challenging one, because aligning your inner states and your emotions with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it's something that it's very difficult to measure. We can measure external correspondence. We can measure external coordination. So, for example, we know more or less when the Prophet ﷺ would awaken for tahajjud. We know what he did for tahajjud. We know the type of worship he had in tahajjud. We know when he had suhoor. We know the habits around suhoor. We know that he prayed in the masjid. We know what he did after salah. We know more or less how he spent his day in the month of Ramadan. We know that he prayed Taraweeh at night. We know that he spent the nights reading and studying the Quran with Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam. We know that he performed i'tikaf in the last 10 days of the month of Ramadan. We know that he was generous throughout the month of Ramadan. We know that he searched for Laylatul Qadr in the last the last 10 nights, especially the odd nights, and so on and so forth. Now, if we collect all of the practices of the Prophet ﷺ and we do our utmost to implement them as best as possible, what we would then find is that while we don't have control of our inner states and whether we are aligned with the Prophet ﷺ in that sense, what we do know is that our outer states, which has an impact on our inner states, that is going to be in line with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then hopefully, inshallah, the impact of those outer states will get our inner state to be in line with that of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that's from one aspect. Another aspect is to study the inner states of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wasallam. Where and when do we do that? Generally speaking, this is what is covered in the science of tazkiyatun nafs. So when we learn about ghadab and hasad and kibr, we also learn about sabr, tawakkul, we learn about contentment, mahabba, etc. We learn about the animalistic, lower self or negative qualities that we should either rid ourselves of or gain control over. And we learn about the positive, prophetic, angelic qualities that we need to embellish, imbibe, nurture, and bring out, emulate within ourselves. Those positive states, they are a culmination of the states that are described to be the states of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We know this because kana khuluquhu al-Quran. His character was the Quran. He was like the personification of the Quran. And therefore, the states and the spiritual qualities that the Quran mentions and that the Sunnah mentions, they were embodied in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wasallam. So by learning and studying them and practicing what I described of getting rid of the bad qualities or keeping them in control and nurturing the good qualities and allowing them to grow, that process is what will get us to align with the inner states of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wasallam, and Allah knows best.
La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah.